I want to catch up on some of the campaigning that Donald Trump has been doing, so I'll play some of those clips for you in just a little bit. But first, I want to talk about, so this is properly contextualized, yet another report about the behind the scenes in Trump world and how they are in shambles. Ross Story reports Trump aides alarmed. He's just golfing all day and stewing as election slips away, according to the Washington Post. According to a report from the Washington Post, Donald Trump's inner circle grew increasingly alarmed as complacency during the Democratic National Convention and had to convince him to hit the road instead of spending his days playing golf and complaining. Now, what we're looking at in the last couple of days, which is why we've been doing a lot of coverage of it, is Trump trying to ramp up his campaign schedule. So today there were more events because he got so bummed out and was perceiving himself so much to be the victim. Oh, Biden, yeah, I should have been running against Biden. No, they defrauded me. They should pay me back for the campaign ads I ran. That he wasn't out there making a counter case against the incredibly strong Democratic National Convention. So much so that his aides were panicking, thinking he was going to spend the entire DNC week, maybe afterwards, as the quote goes, just golfing and stewing about Kamala Harris. With the Democrats sucking up all the media attention with a widely watched convention that set new standards for future productions, Trump mused about staying home, where he reportedly golfed and grumbled about the direction the presidential campaign has taken since Vice President Kamala Harris replaced President Joe Biden, as the Democrats' nominee. The Post is reporting it's been a rough few weeks for the Trump operation. And we've even seen reports that the way aides around Trump, staff members, are describing Trump's mental state is a nervous breakdown and him just not knowing what to do because it seemed all in the bag. He felt so confident and now quite different. Now, I know that, and just again, hold, and then we'll get into those clips from the two speeches Trump delivered today. But I think a part of it is not just that Kamala Harris is a different candidate, is a black woman, is younger, is exciting people more. It's not just that's discombobulating Trump so much, but Jen Psaki and Dan Pfeiffer nicely pointed out that the messaging on the Democratic side has started to get under Trump's skin with the way we're talking about him, that even that's pushing him off of his game and causing the clips at events that we've been covering.
Well, there was a lot of uplifting talk and definitely a lot of joy at this convention about the Harris-Walz ticket. Democrats also didn't hold back on belittling Donald Trump.
It has been a constant stream of gripes and grievances that's actually been getting worse now that he's afraid of losing to Kamala. There's the childish nicknames, the crazy conspiracy theories, this weird obsession with crowd sizes.
He claims to be very rich, but take it from an actual billionaire. Trump is rich in only one thing: stupidity.
I joined the Army when I was 17. In fact, I was too young to sign the paperwork. I had to ask my mom to sign the paperwork for me because I don't have bone spurs.
And the only personal vanity I want to assert is I'm still younger than Donald Trump.
They all have their different spin on it. Joining me now is Dan Pfeiffer. He served as White House Communications Director in the Obama administration, and he's now a co-host of Pod Save America. Okay, Dan, you have been banging the drum on the need to kind of make Trump smaller for some time. So I'm betting you're pretty thrilled watching some of these speeches. Messaging always needs to be adapted, of course, but where does it go from here for Democrats and all these surrogates in the campaign?
Well, I think that there are a couple of takeaways from this convention. One is after years of sort of accidentally doing Donald Trump's bidding by sort of amplifying his wannabe strongman persona by talking about all the terrible things he would do, we understood finally as a party that the way to beat a strongman is to expose their weaknesses, to make them seem small. I would say President Obama might have taken that a little bit literally, perhaps, but in general, I think that was great.
It's a really interesting point the way to beat a strongman is to expose their weaknesses, to make them seem small. And it's a balance, because you do have to explain to people how much of a threat Trump is. But sometimes the way that we speak about him gives him a lot of this larger than life feel that he can then manipulate people into believing is a good thing. And the way that the weirdness attacks against MAGA, the Obama stuff, the Kamala Harris attacks against Trump, it has really thrown Trump off of his game. And I think a big part of it is Trump was really good at triggering us, as they would say. You know, snowflake liberals getting triggered. I think it was justified. I was getting mad for good reasons, and I still do. But that sometimes gives the other person a level of control they can use for political reasons. It's a similar thing with the way he could grab media attention and use it in the way that he'd like is waning because he's less interesting now. And we'll talk about that as we go through this segment. But similar thing here where he could evoke rage in a way that actually benefited him in the news cycle, strangely. And now it's flipped. It's the Obamas with their speeches. You saw a couple different examples there. The J.B. Pritzker remark and just the general candidacy of Kamala Harris, to be honest, that's triggering Trump. So then he can't be politically strategic because he's just too flustered. And getting on to his latest events, Aaron Rupar said the 2024 version of Trump is capable of delivering two speeches. Number one, his incoherent rally rant. Number two, low energy prompter reading. Here's the big problem for him. Both of these speeches are boring and stale AF. The man simply doesn't have juice anymore, and he's too lazy to try to change. And that's the golf course grumbling thing. And here are a couple examples.
War on terror only. Kamala Harris is letting terrorists come into our country at record numbers and letting jihadists pour into our homeland by the thousands and thousands and thousands. Can't do that.
As we've now reviewed in a bunch of segments, he doesn't seem that interested in what he's saying lately.
My opponent, Kamala Harris, and Tim Walz are promising the exact opposite. They want endless war, open borders, voting rights, and free health care for illegal aliens, Soviet-style price controls, censorship, unlimited migration from terrorist hotspots, and unchecked power for the deep state.
So I didn't hear a single thing there that he said was true, other than maybe the names of who he's running against. And Aaron Rupar said in response to that, Trump sounds sedated. And he is either, as Rupar put it, boring, or I should say low energy, or his normal rants, and both people have lost interest in, which, again, as I said in a different segment, it sounds like that's a surface level point. It sounds like that's just sort of a petty remark. That is super impactful, because the way Trump got to where he is now, the way that he was able to inflict himself on America for as long as he has, is because of his ability to command the media cycle, command the news cycle. And that is going away, and Kamala Harris is taking it. Then at a Michigan event, Trump says this.
So disappointing. Can you imagine he's on vacation in California? They basically take away his nomination. Nobody's ever seen anything like that before. So he leaves and goes on vacation. He got 14. In all fairness to him, I'm no fan of Sleepy Joe, believe me. But he got 14 million votes. She got no votes, and they took it away. And, they did the same thing. We signed up RFK, who's great. He's a good guy. Got so many votes. But they wouldn't let him compete. They wouldn't let him. If he competed as a Democrat, he would have won. I think he would have won the nomination over. Then I would have had to run against him. I'd rather run against these people. But, it's just one of those things. But
every single speech that he's at, he can't help but go back to complaining that he's not running against Joe Biden anymore. That's not how you win. We've looked at people's testimony about this, but also just if you're watching, you know it. A lot of us have and had a lot of respect for Biden, his presidency, thus his candidacy. But even those who were acknowledging, as I did, the strength of his presidency, the accomplishments, those people are behind Kamala now. In part because Biden's behind Kamala. We're sort of united around that. Trump thinks he can drive a wedge into the Democratic coalition by bringing this up, I think. Or honestly, I think he's just more stuck on it and so angry that he's not running against Biden now, and his political prospects are getting worse. But he can't. So if the people who were the supporters of Biden don't care now or aren't triggered by what Trump's saying, then there's no strategic reason to be bringing it up. So it's just him, just sort of therapeutically talking about it. That's not what you're supposed to do at public events. Then you have him saying this.
Burning the American flag, I want to get a law passed. Everyone tells me, oh, sir, it's very hard. You burn an American flag, you go to jail for 1 year. Got to do it. We got to do it. They say it's not constitutional. They say, sir, that's unconstitutional. We'll make it constitutional. We're going to make it constitutional. But you burn an American flag, you go to jail for 1 year. That was terrible. What happened at the...
So I've said this so many times, but it's important we address it now and again as he keeps bringing it up. It's about the principle, right? So if I saw someone burning an American flag, or when I have in videos and such, it is gross. I am mad at them. I do respect our flag for what it stands for. And also understand the insanity of saying people don't have the right to express themselves in that way in our country. The point of these rights is that people can even exercise them in ways that we don't like. And if, as long as they're not destroying someone else's property, if it's their flag, that's a sort of a classroom example of one of the things the First Amendment protects. One of the examples of when something you find distasteful, reprehensible, is something protected by the First Amendment. And the fact that MAGA hears him go, we're going to make it constitutional, is just crazy. That's not how you're going to do a constitutional amendment? I don't think so. We'll be right back to the video. All I got to say is just subscribe if you're not already by clicking that subscribe button. Easy, free, but it makes all the difference. The majority of people who watch this show aren't subscribed. So if you want to make yourself no longer one of those people, do it. Thank you so much. Back to the video. Now, quick thing, at that same event, he did bring on stage Tulsi Gabbard, who endorsed him.
To the brink of nuclear war than we ever have been before. This is one of the main reasons why I'm committed to doing all that I can to send President Trump back to the White House, where he can once again serve us as our commander-in-chief.
So Tulsi Gabbard, if you're not familiar, she's one of those people that you could tell from 16 miles away. You could tell she was going to do this way back when she was running for president as a Democrat. And some of these weird, it's a strange term, but sort of fake lefties who like to say they're so on the left that they're on the right. They're so on the left that you should vote for Trump, right? If you're really on the left, you'd vote for Trump. Those sorts of people really liked her too. And so many people called it out early that Tulsi Gabbard was going to do this grift. Because there is a big pot of gold waiting for you if you say, and if you are a Democrat and on the left, and then through some awakening, go, actually, as a Democrat, everything that Trump says is correct. There is a place for you in the MAGA media echo chamber. And so that's what she did. And I won't even pass judgment. You know what? I don't know if she's a grifter. Either way, she has the incorrect views now. And in honor of that, here is Kamala Harris early on in the 2020 primary identifying the nonsense that was going on with Tulsi Gabbard.
I think that it's unfortunate that we have someone on the stage who is attempting to be the Democratic nominee for President of the United States, who during the Obama administration spent 4 years full-time on Fox News criticizing President Obama.
That's
who
ridiculous,
has spent full-time,
That's
who has
ridiculous.
spent full-time criticizing people on this stage as affiliated with the Democratic Party. When Donald Trump was elected, not even sworn in, buddied up to Steve Bannon to get a meeting with Donald Trump in the Trump Tower, fails to call a war criminal by what he is as a war criminal, and then spends full time during the course of this campaign, again, criticizing the Democratic Party.
So you might hear that and go, wait, why is Kamala Harris... And again, she was early seeing what was going on. Why is she saying she criticizes the Democratic Party like that's a bad thing? Why can't we criticize the No, of course, criticize the Democratic Party. The point she's making is there was already a grift going on or a game being played that you could see in the proportionality of criticism, I guess you can say. So we see this a lot. I referenced the fake left people, which I rarely say about people because... there are a lot of people who are quote unquote on the left who I just disagree with on a bunch of things. Socialists, for example. I'm just not a socialist, so then we'll disagree on things. But they're still left of the center line, obviously, even further than I am. And so I rarely just judge people's intentions in that way. But someone like, I'll just cite one example because it's so obvious. There's this guy named Jimmy Dore on YouTube. And I saw just today, which is why I think he popped in my mind, him saying, he's a big Tulsi Gabbard fan, but him saying that Trump and Vance are going to run to the left of Kamala Harris. Stop. And he's one of these who tries to convince you into voting for Trump, but pretending like it's coming from a progressive stance. It's just so weird. What are you doing? You know? And I think what it is you then build an audience. You'll notice if you watch my show, you probably have never been suggested a Jimmy Dore video because YouTube sees in who is watching what. No one with our politics actually watches those videos because he's not the stance he pretends like he is. But the reason why that works for people is I think that if you identify as ordinarily I'd be a Democrat, but Trump's just awesome, then people who are Trump supporters can watch you thinking, see, I'm getting a diverse spectrum of ideas. I watch some people who are on the left and some people on the right, and they all tell me the same thing. And so there's a market for that, I guess. Or he's just very politically confused. Very, very confused. But a similar thing goes on there where you say, it's fine to criticize Democrats. Go for it. But when it seems like you only criticize Democrats and never criticize Republicans, when there's even more cause for criticism right now with Trump and the Republican Party, right? You can do both, but there's definitely more going on there that's pressing, that's terrible. You must be doing something fishy. So that's what she was calling out. Why is it that you're running as a Democrat, but your entire record recently is essentially speaking like a Republican in your values? And I think it was an apt observation there from Kamala Harris. Leave it there. Thank you all so much for watching. If you want to get extra content daily, you can do so by clicking the join button below.